Hello, I'm Dr. Edward, the Healing Vet. I'm here for my weekly Help the Pets with Dr. Edward session, which you might be watching on Facebook, you might be watching on YouTube, or you might be listening to on our podcast. So every week, I like to dig into themes that are deeper themes that maybe you might not have even thought about or how they might affect your pets. And this week, we're talking about expansion and contraction and what I call the universal law of expansion and contraction. So there's cycles of expansion and contraction that you've been experiencing and moving through your whole life. They started off with you expanding from a few cells to a whole little bubba in your mama's belly, and then the contractions of the birth process squeezing you out into this human life. As soon as you were born, you took your first breath, and there's been this expansion and contraction of breath happening for you ever since. Likewise, your heart contracts, expands with every heartbeat. We go through the cycles of expanding light during the day, contracting into darkness at the night. And then we have the moon going from the new moon, the dark moon, to the bright full moon. And we have larger cycles of expansion and contraction, of expansion in spring and summer, and more contraction going within in winter. So there's this, it's just a natural law that whatever expands at some point has to contract. And I know that me, for a lot of my life, I was chasing expansion and desperately fighting any kind of contraction that happened in my life. I wanted to keep going, expanding, and I'd really push myself in that to try and not go into these natural contraction phases. So expansion phases in life tend to be more active. You're growing, you might be doing something new, you might be having some kind of peak experience. For instance, on the weekend on Saturday night, I'm a musician as well, and we had the launch concert for the album, my debut studio album that we recorded this year with Tree Brother. And it was a hugely expansive, beautiful night. We had a support act, and I had to cart all my gear in there, get up, set up, and then perform and sing. And there's a whole lot of people really enjoying it, dancing, having a great time. But then we had to pack down, had to contract all that energy, had to take it home. And the next day, on Sunday, when I got home, well, I was knackered. Now, in the past, I might have had 10 cups of coffee and just pushed through until I fell in a heap. And that's probably a big part of the reason why I ended up having 20 odd years of chronic fatigue syndrome, until I learned how to really embrace the beautiful contraction phases of life, because the contractions are what births the baby, and the contraction phases in your creative processes, in your life, in your day-to-day life, are what keep on bringing out and birthing what's created in the more expansive phases. So you have to be able to sink into being quieter, not doing as much, sleeping more, resting more, having time to rest and regenerate when you do hit these natural contraction phases in your life. Now, how does this relate to your pets? Well, there's two ways that how you relate to expansion and contraction in your life affect your pets. The first one is that if you can't slow down, be quiet, go within, rest and regenerate when the natural contraction phases come up in your life and you meet them, well, you know what? You're not going to have a full cup to give to your pets. And your pets are going to have a much better life if you've got a full cup of presence, of vital life force, of energy to give them. And the second thing is that what I do see is that a lot of humans are really overstimulated. We get patterned in our society and the life we live these days. We get a lot of information coming in, a lot of stimulation, and stimulation is an expanding thing. So then humans are kind of in this unhealthy state of expansion, stimulation, activity, got to be active, got to be doing things all the time. And our pets, especially our dogs, tend to learn how to be stimulated a lot by us, but they don't learn how to be relaxed. And it's really, really important to train our dogs and our cats to be able to have these contraction phases of quietness, of deep relaxation, of rest, of regeneration. I see so many dogs come to see me that are just wired. They don't know how to switch off. They're in this kind of continual expansion phase. And the thing about being in expansion is that it eats up vital life force and vitality. It uses vital energy all the time. And it's only in the contraction, rest, regenerate phases that your animals can truly nurture and nourish their vitality and have time for their bodies to rest and regenerate and heal. So that it's really tied up with longevity as well. The better you get at, embracing expansion in a healthy way without going crazy with it, but also knowing that after each expansion, you're going to need to back off and quiet down and be still and have time to rest and rebuild your batteries so you can discharge your batteries when you go back out into the next expansive phase of life. And there are little expansive phases and big ones. Moving house at the moment. We're moving house in a few weeks, and that's a kind of interesting phase because we've got to contract and pack everything up and get everything together and then move and expand our lives back into this new home. It's a big thing. But after we've moved, the few days or weeks after we've moved, we're going to need to have some time to integrate, assimilate, to rest, to contract back into this new place. And then as we move into the new community, there'll be expansion into social events, going home and contracting to assimilate, integrate, and rest. And, it's going to be very interesting for our animals and possibly a bit stressful for our animals to be going, whoa, new place, a lot of sensory input, whoa, crazy. And then we're going to have to support our animals in assimilating, integrating, and having their contraction phases as they move through life with us. But the more you can really meet and embrace and relax into the natural contraction phases of life, the happier and healthier you're going to be, and that's going to make your pets happier and healthier too. It's a really, really beautiful thing to do. But there is this universal law of expansion and contraction. You cannot expand forever. Your pets cannot expand forever. You need to also help your pets learn how to relax and come back and assimilate, integrate, and be calm and happy in these more contraction phases of life. So that's this week's Helping Your Pets with the Healing Vet. I'm Dr. Ed, the Healing Vet, and I hope that you can learn how to have really healthy relationship with the expansive phases in your life and the natural contraction phases that come after, because then you also get less kind of real big fluctuations in life. You won't go crazy with your expansions, and you won't then, if you don't have the healthy contraction, at some point you'll expand in intensity, and you will crash. You'll end up burnt out, unwell, exhausted, and you'll be forced to have an unhealthy contraction phase, and your animals will not be getting the best out of life if you do that. So you have a beautiful time expanding and contracting with your pets this week. We'll see you back next week for the next one of these. Thank you so much for listening. Have a beautiful week with your pets, and please give your pets a beautiful pat from me.